10, this lesson we'll be looking at climate change in week 6 of term 2 in year 10 geography. This lesson we're trying to develop our understanding of the processes causing climate change and then the impact of climate change to humans and the environment. Our success criteria is to explain the causes of climate change and then the consequences of failing to address climate change in the future. So, after viewing Before the Flood, which was the Leonardo DiCaprio documentary we watched in week 1, and 2040, which is what we watched last week, which was focused on, I guess, the solutions to climate change. What would our world look like in the year 2040, if we started to fight climate change, to address climate change? After viewing those documentaries, you should have some level of knowledge of climate change. You don't have to be experts at this stage. I don't expect you to be. I'm hoping that at some point in your science curriculum you've talked about climate change or global warming, or you've encountered some of this information out of the classroom, reading or viewing news articles or videos. So I'm hoping you've got some level of knowledge. However, it's very understandable to feel overwhelmed or challenged by the amount of information surrounding this topic. People say climate change, you type it into Google or you look it up in your textbook, and there is a mountain of research, mountain of information, and it can be very confronting looking at that and thinking, oh God, I don't understand half of these words on this page. The goal of this lesson isn't to give you all of the information around climate change. What we're trying to give you is the foundation of knowledge. So we've gone through and said, right, what do you guys need to know to understand climate change and to apply it to year 10 environmental geography? So we're trying to focus in on the key information. So the definition of climate change, the impact of climate change, and then solutions to fixing climate change. So to help you understand climate change in a bit more detail, I recommend, or I ask, I can't come into your house and force you to watch it, but I highly recommend you watch these two videos here. So this first one looks at the causes and effects of climate change, and then the second one here gives you a bit of, I suppose, more in-depth scientific information that Mr. Tepley cannot deliver, but my boy Bill Nye can deliver. And these are very short videos as well, I should say, because we're not trying to overwhelm you with a 6-hour video or a 600-page essay. So it's just 3 minutes on the causes and effects of climate change from National Geographic. I like the way they give you information kind of little bite-sized pieces. It's not overwhelming. It's not like a wall of text. It's easy to read. And then Climate Change 101 with Bill Nye, the science guy. Nice bow tie, Bill. So yeah, watch those two videos, and then we'll move into some of the more in-depth discussion of climate change. So, human activities. So deforestation, cutting down trees, forests. Fossil fuels, so burning oil and gas and coal. Pollution of land, air, and water. And then agriculture, so farming, so using harmful chemicals in fertilizers and pesticides. The gases that cattle will emit as well have contributed to an increased level of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. So these gases trap solar energy within the atmosphere, causing global temperatures to rise. As you can see from my very scientific diagram over here, basically, again, very, very simply put definition, sun gives us solar energy, represented by these little red rays of sunlight. They're coming down here. This blue or green band, whatever you want to call it there, represents our atmosphere. And usually, before we decided to mess up the environment, the sun would hit the atmosphere, hit the earth, warm it up, give us some sunlight, thumbs up, and then it would wander off. However, as we put more and more greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, that band gets thicker and it gets harder to move through. So more and more sunlight is being trapped in the world's climate, which means that we are heating up, basically. So this rise in temperature leads to other changes across the world. Rainfall patterns increase or decrease, leading to droughts and floods. So again, extra temperature. You guys looked at world climate zones and climate weather patterns. Just the slightest change in temperature can drastically change the rainfall patterns. So you could have droughts or you could have floods. You could have too much rain or not enough rain. The polar ice caps will start to melt, leading to rising sea levels. You have an ice cube in your glass of water, that ice cube melts, the water gets higher, your cup overflows.
And then natural disasters, so hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, etc., increase in frequency, so they're happening more often, but also intensity, which means they're happening more extremely, I guess. So if you think about the bushfires at the start of this year, 2020, we haven't seen bushfires that intense or that frequent ever. So you can see how the impact of climate change is very much affecting our environment and also our well-being. So these changes to the environment will have major consequences for life. We rely on ecological services provided to us by the environment, and any negative impact to our environment will severely impact our human well-being. Again, very, very, very small impact can have, or very, very, very small change can have a massive impact. So, hopefully Mr. Tapley's very scientific diagram and his bumbling explanation, and also those 2 videos, have given you some information on climate change. Hopefully you've already got some prior to this lesson, and hopefully these pages here will give you the final pieces of information you need to complete this little puzzle. What I'd like you to do this lesson, your lesson activities, complete the following questions in your digital notebook. Now you'll see that some of these pages are from different chapters. I mentioned in the last video, I believe, that I've uploaded all the chapter PDFs to Compass and Google Classroom, so chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just need to have access to your textbook or ebook somewhere to complete these questions. So question 1, writing in your digital notebook, nice and simple definition. So what is the definition of climate change, and what is the definition of global warming? Because those are 2 different terms, and people often get them confused. People often use them interchangeably, so they think they mean the exact same thing. Not necessarily true. Global warming is an effect of climate change. So climate change is the issue, and one of the effects of climate change. So climate change causes global warming. It's not the other way around. But anyway, 2 definitions, climate change and global warming. Question 2, explain the main causes of climate change using specific examples. So climate change is leading to all of this. What's causing climate change? What are the human activities leading to an increase in climate change, an increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere? Question 3, what are the main effects of climate change too? So this question, you're looking at specific examples, so case studies, looking at actual environments around the world, and seeing how climate change is specifically impacting those places. So question 1 is just looking at ecosystems and environments in general, and that's in chapter 1, page 54. 3B is looking at the Great Barrier Reef. So how is climate change affecting a marine ecosystem? And that's in chapter 2, page 98 to page 99. And then 3C is looking at human well-being. So how is climate change impacting humans as opposed to the wildlife, the environment? And that's in chapter 4, page 182 and 183. You don't have to watch that. I've just put that in there for a laugh. I might reveal my age here, but that's from, not The Simpsons, Futurama. It shows a little humorous video about climate change in Futurama television program. Anyway, so chapter 1, page 54 looks something like this. And you can see that gives you some more information about climate change. Hopefully will help you. And that should be able to help you answer that question there. So what are the main effects of climate change to ecosystems and the environment? 3B, we're looking at chapter 2. Bunk. Impact on the Great Barrier Reef there. And then 3C, chapter 4. Bunk. Influence of climate change on human well-being. So you've got 3 questions for this lesson, guys. Again, I recommend you watch these 2 videos here to give you a better understanding of this concept of climate change. Complete questions in your digital notebook, and if you have questions about the questions, please let Mrs. Tapley know as soon as possible. Thanks, guys. Hope you're well. Cheers.